Today we are going to be looking at order of operations and evaluating expressions. So for order of operations, we're going to follow PEMDAS. So we're going to first start with parentheses. So they could be rounded brackets or squared brackets. Then we're going to look at exponents. Then multiplication and division. The thing about multiplication and division, it goes from left to right. So if division comes first, you do that before you multiply. Then lastly, addition and subtraction. Same thing goes here. We go from left to right, no matter if subtraction comes first or addition comes first. So the first step, you're going to evaluate the expression with your parentheses or groupings. So first we have this expression that we are evaluating. So we look for parentheses, which we have parentheses here. So we're going to evaluate that first. So 3 plus 2 gives us our 5. Then we got rid of all of our parentheses. Then we look at exponents. So we have an exponent here, and it only goes to the 5. So we do 5 squared, and that gives us 25. Then after exponents becomes multiplication and division, and we go from left to right. So the first thing we have for multiplication and division is 4 times 25. 4 times 25 gives us 100. Then we do the same thing, and we have 10 divided by 2. And 10 divided by 2 gives us 5. After multiplication and division, we add or subtract from left to right. So we have 7 minus 100. It gives us negative 93. And then we have our last step of negative 93 plus 5, and that gives us our answer of negative 88. So now let's look at some example problems. So the first one we're going to look at, we start with parentheses. So our parentheses, we're going to start at right here, 5 minus 3. 5 minus 3 gives us 2. And then we bring down everything else. And then we have 48 over 2 to the third. So we can go on and separate 2, simplify 2 to the third. And 2 to the third is 8. And then we still have more in our parentheses here. So we're going to do 4 minus 2, and that gives us 2. And then we're going to bring down everything else. Now, after we did our parentheses and we took care of our exponents up here, it's going to be a multiplication or division. So we're going to do it from left to right. So we have 48 divided by 8, and that gives us 6. Bring down everything else. So 6 times 3 is 18. And then we also have 5 times 2, and that is 10. And then we have our last step of addition here. So then we get 28. The next problem. Next problem, the whole thing is a division problem. So we're going to simplify the top and simplify the bottom. And then once we get one number on the numerator and denominator, then divide it. So just looking at the top, the first thing we have up here to simplify first is going to be our exponents. So 2 to the 5th gives us 32. Bring down everything else. So we did one step for the numerator. Now let's look at the denominator. Denominator, we have an exponent as well, 3 to the third. And 3 to the third is 27. And then bring down everything else. Now let's look at the top again. So the next thing to do for order of operations would be a multiplication here. So 6 times 2. 6 times 2 gives us 12. So 32 minus 12. And then let's look at the denominator. We have subtraction, multiplication, and subtraction. So we need to focus on the multiplication here. So we're going to do 5 times 3, and that is 15. And then looking at our numerator, we just have subtraction. So 32 minus 12 is 20. And then we just have subtraction. So we can do 27 minus 15, and that gives us 12, and then subtract 2 more, and that is 10. And then we simplify. 20 divided by 10 is 2. Let's look at the third one here. So PEMDAS says we're going to do parentheses first. So 4 minus 2, that is 2. Bring down everything else. And then we have exponents. So 2 to the third. 2 to the third is 8. Bring down everything else. Then we have subtraction, addition, division, and then multiplication. So we are going to divide first. 8 divided by 4 gives us 2. Then bring down everything else. Then we have multiplication again. Let's make sure that looks like subtraction. 2 times 3 is 6. And now we just have subtraction and then addition. So we're going to do 10 minus 2, which is 8, plus 6 gives us 14. So that is how you do PEMDAS, orders of operation. Now we're going to look and take this one step further. So we're going to apply the order of operations to an expression that has variables. So number 1 has a squared plus b minus c squared. We have to substitute in our a, b, and c that are given. So you're just substituting them in to where the letter is, everything else stays the same. So when we substitute it in, we get 12 squared plus 9 minus 4 squared. Now we simplify. Back to PEMDAS. So we look at our exponents here. 12 squared is 144. And then 4 squared is 16, so minus 16. Now we can add and then subtract. So 144 plus 9 gives us 153. And then we're subtracting 16 from it. 153 minus 16 gives us 137. Number 2, we're doing it the same way. So we have 2c times the quantity of a plus b. So substitute in a, b, and c for their values, and you get 2 times 4 times the quantity of 12 plus 9. So PEMDAS states that we start with our parentheses. So inside our parentheses, we have 12 plus 9. And 12 plus 9 is 21. And everything else stays the same. Just bring it down. Now we just have multiplication. So we can multiply this straight across. 2 times 4 is 8, times 21 gives us 168. Okay, let's look at 3. We need to see what A, B, and C are. Okay, so 3. We have the quantity of A squared divided by 4B plus C. Substitute them in. So then we get 12 squared divided by 4 times 9. That whole quantity is added to 4. So let's look inside the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, we have to apply PEMDAS again. So we start with the exponent, 12 squared. And 12 squared is 144. And then we can also do 4. No, we can't. We're going to bring down 4 times 9. So we're going to do 144, and we're going to divide it by 4. And we get 36. And then we're going to take 36 and then multiply it by 9. And 36 times 9 is 324. Then we have to still bring down that plus 4. So we cannot forget about our plus 4. So do 324 plus 4, that's 328. Now let's look at number 4. We have C squared times the quantity of 2B minus A. Substitute in our A, B, and C. But when you do, you get 4 squared times the quantity of 2 times 9 minus 12. So we start within our parentheses. And then we start with our multiplication. 2 times 9 is 18. And then we're going to subtract 12 from it. 18 minus 12 gives us 6. We cannot forget about our 4 squared out here. And then 4 squared is 16. So 16 times 6 gives us 96. And we have 2 more problems to look at. So for these 2 problems, I went on and wrote our A, B, and C off to the side so we can substitute it in. So number 5, we have B times C squared plus A all divided by C. So we need to substitute in our A, B, and C. When we substitute it in, we get 9 times 4 squared plus 12 all divided by 4. So we're going to look at the numerator first and apply our PEMDAS. So we're going to start with 4 squared. 4 squared is 16. Multiply that by 9 and add 12. And we still have a denominator of 4. So 9 times 16 gives us 144. Add 12 to it. And then we got to divide it by 4. So 144 plus 12 gives us 156. We have to divide that by 4, and 156 divided by 4 gives us 39. The last problem we're going to look at today, we have b squared minus 2 times c squared divided by a plus c minus b. We have to substitute in our a, b, and c. And when we do that, we get 9 squared minus 2 times 4 squared, all divided by 12 plus 4 minus 9. So we're going to look at the numerator first. The first thing we can do is our exponents. So 9 squared, 81. And then we can do our 4 squared, and 4 squared is 16. And then if we look at our denominator, we can do 12 plus 4, and that gives us 16. Now, if we look back up at our numerator, the next thing we can do is multiplication. 2 times 16 gives us 32. So 81 minus 32. And then we can look at our denominator. 16 minus 9 gives us 7. Back to our numerator. 81 minus 32 gives us 49 with our denominator of 7. Lastly, 49 divided by 7 gives us 7. So that is how you solve expressions for order of operations and evaluate them when given an expression.